Welcome back to the series of videos that I'm creating um, to explain, to share my experiences and my knowledge of the obsidian egg, the use of this medicine and activator and harmonizer. It happens that every time I'm recording a video, there's one of these in the way. So let's welcome her once again. It helps me to focus truly. So since I have some random bugs and especially ants walking over my feet and biting me sometimes, I guess this is kind of an anchor, a flexible anchor here. Anyway, coming back to this topic, there is so much to talk about the obsidian egg that I don't even know how many videos this is going to be, but here I am again. And so this time, because I was like, okay, where to start? And I simply used my tarot cards that always help me to focus the direction of my speech. And so the first thing that I want to talk about in relation of the use of this helper, this abuelita, she's like a grandmother to me. I got the card called Trail of Tears. And if you are from North America, most likely you know about this story, hopefully. If you're not from North America, I can briefly explain that this was a very sad, almost form of genocide that happened in northern America when the European colonizers, I can't remember exactly who they were, they may have been British, but I'm not sure, forced tons of families. And how interesting that we are experiencing something similar. I wonder if is there ever a time when we're not experiencing this, and will this time come? I think yes. But there's still some things we need to do. And a big part of what we are doing with the obsidian egg is actually cleanse these memories so they do not repeat. So there's no resentful action being taken from subconscious places, which is what I think is a big part of all of these sad situations that we are experiencing on planet Earth. Anyway, the Trail of Tears, it was tons of families, Native American families, that were pushed to walk from one side of the continent to the other, something like that, and without hardly any food, water, and so tons of people died. So you can imagine children and elders. So this was a very, very hard, it's a very hard story that for anyone who grew up in North America, I'm pretty sure that it's present in some way in their lives, in their existence, in the reason why they do this or that, along with all other conflicts and along many blessings as well. Okay, not everything is just harsh and sad and difficult. But we're here talking about this because for any human being, we have these memories stored. In this case, we're going to talk about how they are stored in the womb, and how the womb, being a fountain of creation, what are we creating? What are we creating as a species? And I'm going here to direct my attention towards women. What are we as women creating generation after generation? What kind of distortions are we bringing forth to the reality that we experience, but also our descendants will keep experiencing? And when is it time to take responsibility for it, move through the shame that we may feel? Because it doesn't matter if you're a mother or not. If you have a womb, you are creating, for sure. And I'm not going to talk about men right now, because that's not my field right now. In this very moment, I have to be honest, I do not know exactly how it would play out for cases of trans women. That is something that I want to always be very respectful and very careful about when speaking. So in this case, because I do not have direct experience and I do not have direct testimony of how this works, I'm going to leave it on a side, and I'm going to focus on, I don't know if in English is the same term, but CIS women. And the womb, right? So with the obsidian egg, what happens is that it stirs up old memories. And the humbling experience for me of stirring up old memories, as much as at first, especially if we have been the kind of person that avoids stirring up the past, which normally is a sign that there is a big responsibility and therefore a big blessing that we can bring forth to ourselves, to our lives, and to others. When we focus our inner transformation in clearing and organizing and decluttering these past memories, a humbling experience happens, and that is that we realize that as much as shame is a mechanism that serves us, it has its purpose, it serves its purpose. Once we go through and beyond that mechanism, we understand that this is not just me, what I did, what I could have done, what I should have done, what I should have allowed, what I shouldn't have allowed, etc. We realize that this is a collective thing. Always it's a collective thing. And of course it's not about polarizing right on the other side, where we're like, oh, this is collective, it's not my responsibility, I have nothing to do here, this is because they did that, and look at me, now I'm a victim of what they did. That is true to an extent, but at the level of conversation that we're holding here, if you've already been attracted to the obsidian egg, there's definitely a perspective that we are ready to take on, which is, what can I do with my piece of the cake? And how can we transform reality in a tangible way into its original form, which is an infinite source of creation rather than a cake from which we take parts, or others take parts from and steal from me, or I steal from someone, because that also leads us to situations like what we are experiencing with the genocide in Gaza, for example, or probably I will have to do something about the words that I just said because YouTube is not going to allow this. Anyway, the Trail of Tears, this type of conflicts they happen because we are believing that there is a cake from which we can only take certain pieces. And when we look around in nature, same as I am here right now, I'm surrounded by trees, tons of insects, tons of little animals. I can never get to see any of them because they know how to hide. But you can feel there is a constant flow of life and death, right? It's a constant, infinite cycle of creation and destruction. And if we were participating directly from that template, let's call it that, we wouldn't have these problems of scarcity and hunger and wars and bullies taking over and trying to make certain ethnicities disappear. And we wouldn't have these problems in families where, you know, this cousin is not talking to the other cousin because they did this in the past. And, you know, we wouldn't be comparing ourselves to other women. We wouldn't be judging ourselves based on standards that have been brought by who knows and who knows why. So it feels like what I'm explaining is more the reasons why I would encourage someone to use the obsidian egg as a form of reconnecting to source as an infinite source of creation, fountain of creation. And therefore that is our essence. We transcend the fear maybe of the implicit temporary nature of our bodies. And from that perspective, where we know that we are souls that are on a journey in a body, it's actually easier also to take care of this body and to fulfill our soul missions, which usually I think are many. So it's not so much like this is one mission, it's so many. I mean, the mission is just living every day, but how are we living? How are we experiencing this life? And what are we leaving for other souls and even ourselves if reincarnation exists, which I think it does. But even if it doesn't, are you not going to want the best for your brothers and sisters, for your descendants? So that could be basically removing and cleansing out any form of program that is replicating old conflicts that we already know we do not want, that do not help us at all. I don't know how's the lighting here. I feel like I'm a little in the dark. But let's see if I can read here in the shade. Anyway, let's move on. The next card that I have, it's stickball. Stickball was this game, or is this game, also played in North America. This is a Native American tarot deck created by a Native American woman, so just so you know, it is one of my preferred tarot decks. For whatever reason, I just feel extremely connected to many of the cultures that were born or created there in North America. So the stickball was this game where it could get really serious, but nonetheless it was still a game. What I see here, which by the way is the 5 of Wands, okay, so it's very similar to the classic tarot card. it's similar to the previous card because it's talking about conflicts, but this is more of, how I see it, is more of the inner conflicts where I want to create something, but there are so many perspective, possibilities, tools, opinions that we are taking into account when we want to create something. And by the way, this is due to our hormones. We women have what is called diffused attention. So that's what gives us the possibility to focus on a lot of things, many details at the same time. While stereotypically or biologically speaking about CIS men have the opposite, which is big focus on just this one thing. That's why, the achievement focus oriented way of being of most men. Of course, here take part tons of interferences, we can call it, from the original nature of how our brains work, but for the most part, that's how it works. And so, how can we make projects happen? How can we focus our multiple interests and our multiple skills into creating something, forming something, into winning, as to say? How can we win the very game that we are creating? How to not get lost, with all the rules that we impose ourselves, with this perfectionism that seems to have tainted our whole gender. How to bring it from the thoughts, from the mind, from the imagination world to this tangible realm where things happen in a physical way, where we can show it to someone, where we can do it for someone, where we can, I've been wanting to create my own website for my arts for a decade. I had one that an ex-boyfriend made for me back in the day. Once we broke up, of course also for cutting cords, but that disappeared, and since then I haven't created my own. And I've tried 1,000 times. It's only now that I'm finally, because of all this work that I'm doing, and I don't even like calling it work, by the way. I'd rather call it something else, but I'm just going to say that now, because otherwise we get lost into the use of words. It's only now that I am getting to organize and follow the logical steps that I need to follow to get to that point where I create a website. Like organizing my folders, organizing my pictures, organizing my feelings when I see these pictures, when I relate everything that I see, I'm relating to something else. This is something else. This is diffused attention. This is what I was talking about. And so, whatever it is that you're wanting to create, and because this is something we know. This is something we know. You can justify in 1,000 ways. You can always excuse yourself in the money, and I have no time, and I'm suffering from this condition. There's so many reasons why we can stop ourselves from achieving certain goals. And without needing to polarize on that go-getter attitude where, we forget about the details, and then we end up creating the world that we have created that is over-masculinized or masculinized. How to do this, basically, right? So with the obsidian egg, it brings you down to earth. It's it comes from volcanoes. It is the very deepest aspect of the earth, condensed in that beautiful pitch black, reflective mineraloid in the form of this precious, perfect shaped egg that can, I always see it like this. It's almost like a hand, a hand of the goddess just bringing you through all the densities, all the mind's excuses, all the fears, all the blah, 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 blah. We know, I don't even need to name it. We know what we're talking about here. To finally sit on your throne. And your throne is the dirt, the earth, the rocks, the water that runs through the valley, through the mountains, the wind that moves the trees, the simplicity of that Empress energy, of that nervous system that is not being abused by substances or by temerous adventure. I don't know if that word exists, but like risky adventures, or by toxic behaviors or toxic relationships, toxic dynamics. Who am I when I'm sitting on my throne? And this is a never-ending journey. So we can always go deeper, but at the same time, I don't want to say just go deeper, but actually go lighter. And, let go of all of these masks, all of this heaviness, the guilt, the shame, instead of sitting there with all of that crap. How can we just let it all fall off us? How can we allow it to be cleansed from us? How can we truly step into that Empress energy? That gives us the opportunity to experience what it is to create from our womb, from a clean womb, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, all these bodies that are described in Hinduism and, or whatever New Age metaphysic system that has been created yesterday. How can all of that be clear? So we can walk on earth rooted, as rooted women. Where we can just breathe and know that even if there is this madness that we might be facing collectively, me as an anchor of the essence of our very human nature and Gaia nature and universal nature, this mystery that cannot really be described in words but that can be felt, that we all have experienced at some point. Even if we can't remember consciously, we have experienced this at some point because we were once a soul, not in a body. And we knew where we were going when we came here. So the obsidian egg is going to help me to rebirth, basically. In fact, I take the opportunity now to talk about the 9 months journey with the obsidian egg. It's not 9 months straight. There are pauses in between, but it's a whole rebirth. And that's truly what the obsidian egg does. It allows us to finally fully let go of whatever dead skin that is on us still, that we haven't fully taken off because maybe it's going to reveal something so beautiful that we're scared to shine it and to show it. Not even to show it, just to be seen. It's going to be seen. So maybe I'm still carrying this half piece of face skin in form of a mask, which on one hand doesn't let me see well and is distorting my reality, and on the other hand, it doesn't even make me beautiful, because it's like an incomplete part of me. What was before is not there anymore, and what is here does not match this anymore. So yeah, I'm finding this metaphor to be very accurate to what many of us are experiencing when we are not fully getting rid of all that yucky crap. I don't know how to call it. I don't know how to call it right now. That's what it is. And so that is going to give us the clarity to build something in an organized manner, and not like, okay, I'll build something here today, but then 3 months later I come back to it because, you know, I got distracted with life and other things I had to do, or I got back to my old habits, and you know, or I got attached to this new relationship, you know, and then we come back. That's tiring. That's bad for our nervous system. That's just wasting our lives, basically. So what if we are so clean that we just every day build a little of that thing that we've come to experience and to offer to the world? And finally, I want to talk about the warrior woman, the template of the warrior woman. I definitely know a ton about this. The warrior woman is a survival mode of a woman where the very thing that we think we are defending is what we are not allowing ourselves to inhabit. So in the end, it's a war with ourselves. It's that polarized version of ourselves that we want to blame outside, normally in the form of, the most common is blaming men. But truly, the men that we are blaming are only reflecting the distorted masculine energy in us. And that's why we attract the relationships we attract, or why we get stuck in our long-time relationships, you know, because it's not only with like different men. In my case, it's been with different men constantly. But you know, I can see in long-time marriages where this happens as well. I can see it in my parents. I'm not going to talk about their personal life here, but I can totally see it. Everything that we blame outside, we already know that it's inside. So I understand this archetype of the warrioress, it appears at a certain point out of need, because there was no one there truly protecting us. accept the divine, but maybe in that moment we didn't know how to differentiate energies. And so we become that father figure that we didn't have. Going back to, like wrapping this whole circle, this man that is or was my father, that has this absolutely distorted masculine energy, that is not allowing me to feel safe in my feminine energy, was born from a woman. Hence why the importance of us women taking charge of the world situation, not by emasculating and falling into the archetype of our, so I'm gonna call it enemy, okay? But it's like a game, let's not take it too seriously. But if this was a game, that figure is our enemy. So you cannot fight your enemy by becoming your enemy. That is absolute madness. To such a literal point that we are not even aware how mad we are until we do. The warrior woman wants to be that empress that sits on her throne. And it's not about not doing anything, and just like being bored there, like, being like a trophy. It's not becoming a trophy woman. But there is an aspect of it where the beauty that we emanate, which is not here, which will also be for the people that truly love us, but it's not meant to be outside, is that we are able to emanate that beauty, which is our birthright. And from there is a reaction, as to say, or a complementary energy outside of us that just wants to hold us and create what we need for us to birth. And again, if you don't want to be a mother, that's okay. You're still going to birth things. You're birthing things every day. And if you want to be a mother, especially for us younger women who have been born already in this massive awakening, and for the elders, all my respect, because the world we live in today, spiritually and collectively speaking, is not the world that even I was born into. Not to mention decades before I was born. Of course, other things are way worse nowadays, but spiritually, we are very fortunate, the younger generations, to have the possibility to even talk freely about different forms of relating to God, having the opportunity to choose a different path than our parents or our grandparents, at least for most cases. And at the same time, having the opportunity of learning about traditions, if we want to take on those traditions and to keep giving it life. I don't know if you heard that, but I keep hearing this every day, and I think it's what's the word? These birds with a very long beak, that where they have, they bring babies. I think it's that. I don't get to see her or him. So if I'm a warrior woman and I bear a child, or I bear a project that is meant to grow and expand, the seed that creates that project or that births that person is already distorted. And it's just going to take a lot of effort to support and hold space for that flower, that person, that project. So that would be the third reason of which I was meant to share today, in why using obsidian egg. There is so much more that I could say about each one of these reasons, but it's 36 minutes. I want to wrap it up. I don't want to make this longer than 40 minutes. And thank you for being there, for taking this time to chill and listen to me. I'm really looking forward to hear about how you feel about these topics. What is your experience? Would you use obsidian egg? Do you know what it is? Have you used it before? What is your connection to your womb? If there's something you disagree on about the things that I share, it's welcome, as long as there is respect. If there is no respect, I'm not even going to reply, or probably I will just erase the comments. And no, I wouldn't erase the comment. I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't have time for that. I don't want to use my time for that. So thank you, and I wish you a beautiful day. I'll be here sharing more in the following videos, just guided by the moments. My friend is saying bye to you. Bye.